welcome back to my channel. Today I have another interesting story for you. Jamaican Canadian rising star in track and field, Tamari Lindo, and his family faces deportation. And I'm going to talk about why this is a very hot topic, especially in the Caribbean community, and why the Caribbean community were not happy about what is going on in terms of this news. So let's talk about it.
The news that former Kingston College athlete Tamari Lindo and his family are now facing deportation from Canada after immigration officials denied their request for asylum. Lindo last competed at the ISA Boys and Girls Championships in 2019 in the semifinals of the Class 2 Boys Sprint Hurdles for KC. The details from CTV in Canada.
Tamari Lindo is one of the country's top-ranked hurdlers. He wants to sprint for a potential spot on Canada's Olympic team, but can't outrun a deportation order.
I have dreams of running for here and this and that, and it just feels that they keep turning it away.
In 2019, Tamari arrived in Toronto with his parents and two younger siblings from Jamaica. They sought asylum after 3 attempts on his father's life. George Lindo was a government worker who volunteered with the opposition party to get out the vote. He's been shot at and had his neck slashed.
I remember when they were running me down, I was just praying for God to just, When we were all leaving off to go to school, me and my other siblings, they said they were going to shoot up the car with all of us in us, and it's like, I was like traumatized.
But Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada has denied the father's claim for political protection. IRCC says it's not persuaded the assaults were related to Lindo's alleged political affiliation and activities. Crime, including murder, is widespread throughout Jamaica. Any risk they face is not personalized. It's one shared generally by all persons living in Jamaica.
The fact that they're doing this is unconscionable, and it does go against what I would say are Canadian values of, providing people their fair opportunities and also providing protection to people who are in danger in other countries.
The entire family is scheduled for deportation next week, denying Tamari the chance to compete in qualifying races for the Paris 2024 Olympics. The family will also have to return with their 5-year-old daughter, born in Canada.
God, I'm stressed. I feel it for my children, so I know I can't protect them once they go back to Jamaica.
The Lindo's lawyer plans to file a judicial review of their immigration claim to stave off deportation, but time is running out. Canada Border Service agents have already begun the process of arranging their flights.
So let's talk about why this is a big problem for the Caribbean community. In the past 3 years, Canada has been #1 in the world that are allowing legal immigrants to come to Canada. The only other country that has more immigration than Canada is America, and America mostly illegal immigrants coming across from the border of Mexico. But Canada has been making an effort to increase population within the past 3 to 4 years, with millions of new immigrants coming into Canada via, skilled workers program and so forth. And the government of Canada has been welcoming new immigrants. We have seen in the past 2 years, we have seen what happened in Ukraine, and we have seen hundreds or thousands of Ukrainians coming to Canada, and a lot of people would say, a lot of Canadians would say, getting special treatment. We have seen Ukrainians come to Canada with the government using taxpayers' money to allow Ukrainians to get special benefit in terms of a family of 4 or 5 would be getting like $2,000 to $3,000 a month from the government for a certain period of time until they can settle. Canada over the years has had like a pretty good record in terms of people coming to Canada and filing for political asylum. Even people from Jamaica which this story is coming, has to do with Canada and Jamaica. Over the years, like I would say 10, 15 years, like a lot of Jamaicans have come to Canada and filed for political asylum and using, in terms of like Jamaicans from the LGBTQ community, stating the fact that Jamaica is not safe because of their sexual preference. And a lot of Jamaicans that file political refugee based on those grounds have been granted stay in Canada and have obtained their permanent resident and move on to being citizens. So we have seen the treatment in recent years with, like we saw Africans coming in last year that were filing for political asylum just a few months after the Ukrainians arrived, and we saw Ukrainians government taking over entire hotels and apartment buildings and renting them out for the Ukrainians to stay there for a few months until they're able to get jobs, until they're able to settle in the Canadian society. Few months after that, we saw Africans coming in, political asylum from Ghana, from Zimbabwe, and few other African countries. And we saw those Africans on the street, homeless in the winter for months. And it caused an uproar in the Caribbean community with a lot of Caribbean leaders that said, like, how is this fair that Ukrainians came in to Canada, were given preferential treatment, and not even 6 months later, we saw African refugees that were treated completely different from how the Ukrainians were treated. So this has been a hot topic in Canada for months. And I'm going to tell you why this deportation makes no sense at all to me, and why a lot of Caribbean nationals are so upset about this deportation. Why is this a problem for the Caribbean community? So the Lindo family, they have been here since 2019. Tamari Lindo, a track and field rising star from Jamaica, Kingston College, which is one of the most of Jamaica's like top male sprinters, would have come from Kingston College. So as you saw in the video, there was an attempt on his life, his dad, and they came to Canada and they seek political asylum. That's 2019. Tamari Lindo is attending one of the most prestigious universities in Canada, in York University, that produce a lot of Canadian top sprinters. This family is not a welfare family. This is not a family that the government is paying for like rent and they're on welfare. This family is a working family that their son, a rising star that is about to try to qualify for the Olympics, running for Canada. Keep that in mind. Most of Canada's success in track and field, when you look at the history of like Donovan Bailey and you look at the history of like Ben Johnson, those two like gold medal holders like in Canada history in track and field, Jamaican background. This young man is a Jamaican hurdle runner that is running for Canada, that is doing trials for the Olympic. So this is not a family that's a scrub. Why the government, you're taking care of this family? This family is a working family, child or kids in university. So this makes absolutely no sense to a lot of Caribbean nationals. And to add to that, the Canadian government, since 2019, this family has been here applying for political asylum. Over 2 million immigrants that came to Canada, whether by skilled worker program, by student coming from different countries across the world, applying for permanent resident in Canada, because Canada is underpopulated as the second largest country in the world with only 35 million approximate people. So the government is trying to increase the population. So why a government trying to increase a population would have an upstanding family, a young man that is running for the country, that is representing Canada in track and field, why would you want to deport such a family? Why? In a time when we look at immigration in 2023, 2024, where we see 60% of immigrants coming to Canada are coming from India. 60%. We have heard the cries of Canadians, we have heard the cry of immigrants in Canada talking about lack of diversity in terms of new people coming to Canada. And you have a family in Canada, a working family, that they're not a scrub, they're not a family that's on welfare as stated. This is a working family. Why deport this family? So this makes absolutely no sense. And I hope that, you know, the Caribbean community at large will come out and will be able to fight this deportation, because the Caribbean community, we from the Caribbean community, we were one of the first visible minority group that came to Canada from way back in the 1940s, when Canada needed PSWs, when Canada needed teachers, when Canada needed healthcare workers. From the 1940s until today, like Jamaicans, Trinidadian, Bajans, Vincentian, a lot of Caribbean national who were part of the Windrush movement that went to the UK, came from the UK to Canada because they saw Canada as a better option. And now we are treated this way. We are treated like bottom of the barrel immigrants, like coming to Canada, even though like our contribution, history will show that the Caribbean contribution have been great to this country. We have helped to build this country, and we're treated like this. This is the problem that I'm having with this immigration, this deportation order that's placed for this family. The persons that, like, I've never really tried to run to racism as the first thing for why negative things happen to us when we live in North America. Like, I try not to make racism the first thing that I go to, because, you know, to be honest, sometimes there's more stuff than racism that affect us in North America. And like I would say to Jamaican, and I'm one of the person that believe that if you are a person that comes from the Caribbean and you come to Canada and you get involved in drugs or life of crime, I am not going to be an advocate and say, like, do not deport these people. If you come and you decide to be in a life of criminality, like of crime, drugs, alcohol, I would never be an advocate. And I even go as far as saying that as a Jamaican myself and people coming from the Caribbean, you leave the Caribbean and you come to a place like Canada, you should not be on welfare. Like, I'm that type of person that believes that if you come here, you're coming here because you're coming for a better life. And welfare to me is not a better life. So, like, I'm an advocate that, okay, if you come to Canada, you're going to hold down a 9-to-5, you're going to become an entrepreneur. And so I believe in that. So for people that are getting deported because of a life of crime and so forth, I am not going to be supporting and fighting for them to stay in Canada. But this family is an upstanding family. Why are they being deported? So, you know, I just want this conversation to continue. And I want, you know, the JCA, the Jamaican Canadian Association, and the Caribbean at large, and Africa, like to come together and to make sure that this family stays in Canada, because this is an upstanding family and there's no need for deportation. So let me know what you think in the comment section. If you're in Canada, like if you're back home in Jamaica, why do you think this is happening? Why do you think they're deporting this family, even though we can see that this is an upstanding family and this family would have a right for political asylum? If this is not a right, like the dad's life been threatened, kids' life been threatened, they stated that they were threatened about shooting up the car. If this is not a ground for political asylum, what is? So please sound off in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this story. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe as I try to bring you more of this story from Canada to the Caribbean. And remember, peace, I'm out.